When we think about how adolescents get cannabis, it is easy to imagine a single pathway, usually friends sharing with friends. But nationally representative data suggests a much more complex picture, one that varies by frequency of use, sex, race, place, and socioeconomic status. Hi, my name is Christian Maynard, and I'm completing a PhD in sociology at Washington State University. I study cannabis policy and adolescent use. Today, I want to discuss a study published in Addictive Behaviors by Wagner and colleagues that uses national data to examine how U.S. high school seniors obtain cannabis and which groups are more likely to rely on higher risk sources. The study uses data from Monitoring the Future survey, one of the longest running and most widely used data sets on adolescent substance use in the United States. The authors focus on 12th grade students who reported using cannabis in the past year, between 2012 and 2018. The analytic sample includes just over 4,200 students, making it nationally representative of high school seniors. Students were asked a checklist-style question about how they obtained cannabis in the past year. These options range from being given cannabis for free by friends or relatives, buying it from friends, relatives, or dealers, to obtaining it through medical marijuana prescriptions, either their own or someone else's. The results show that adolescent cannabis access is overwhelmingly social. The most commonly endorsed source was being given cannabis for free by friends, reported by about 62% of past year users. About half reported buying cannabis from friends, and roughly 28% reported buying from a drug dealer or stranger. Other sources were far less common. Only about 2% reported using their own medical prescription, though 14% reported using cannabis obtained through someone else's medical prescription. Getting cannabis from relatives, whether for free or by buying it, was relatively uncommon, and taking cannabis without asking was rare. Overall, friends were the dominant access point. One of the key distinctions in the study is between frequent and non-frequent users. Frequent users were defined as those who use cannabis on 20 or more occasions in the past 30 days. These students were more likely to endorse nearly every method of obtaining cannabis. In contrast, non-frequent users were more likely to report being given cannabis for free by friends. This suggests that casual or intermittent use may be more opportunistic, while more frequent use coincides with a broader and more self-directed set of access strategies. The study also documents clear social patterning in how cannabis is obtained. By sex, females were more likely than males to be given cannabis for free by friends. Males, on the other hand, were more likely to report buying cannabis from friends using medical marijuana sources or buying from drug dealers or strangers. Racial and ethnic differences also emerge. White students were more likely than Black and Hispanic students to be given cannabis for free by friends, and more likely than Black students to buy cannabis from friends. Geography mattered as well. Students in urban areas were more likely than suburban or rural students to obtain cannabis from drug dealers or strangers. Urban students were also more likely to report friend-based sources and access through someone else's medical marijuana prescription. Finally, socioeconomic status played an important role. Lower SES students were more likely than higher SES students to obtain cannabis from relatives or from drug dealers or strangers, pathways that may carry greater legal and social risk. One of the most important implications of this study is that not all cannabis access carries the same level of risk. While most adolescents obtain cannabis from friends, about 1/4 reported buying from drug dealers or strangers. Prior research suggests this pathway is associated with elevated risks, including arrests, exposure to violence, and the possibility of adulterated or mislabeled products. The authors note that boys, urban students, and frequent users were especially likely to rely on dealers or stranger sources. This highlights groups that may face compounded risk even when overall prevalence of use is similar. The authors are careful to acknowledge several limitations. The measure of cannabis acquisition captures whether a method was used in the past year, not how often it was used. The sample excludes adolescents who dropped out of school or were absent, thereby limiting generalizability. Some racial and ethnic categories could not be fully disentangled due to sample size constraints. Even so, the findings underscore an important point. Adolescent cannabis use is not just about whether adolescents use cannabis, but about how they access it. And those access pathways are structured by social inequality. Understanding these differences helps shift policy and prevention conversations away from a one-size-fits-all approach and towards interventions that recognize uneven exposure to risk. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and get subscribed for more cannabis-related content. And if you'd like to support my work directly, I do have a Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. This is Mr. Cookie.